We really try to diversify the programming. We don't want to lump it all into public policy or all into CEOs or all into large business. We really haven't run into big challenges with, oh, you're choosing one business over another to highlight. It's not a sale thing. We don't want people coming in here saying, Jason's redheaded retail store has 50% off this week. Like we really stay away from that. We're deeply interested in, why did Jason start the redheaded retail store? And so that's worked really well.
This is the Chamber Chat Podcast, the show dedicated to chamber professionals to spark ideas and to get actionable tips and strategies to better serve your members and community. Hello, Chamber Champions. Welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burton, and it's my goal here on the podcast to introduce you to people and ideas to better help you serve your chamber members and your community. Today's guest is a powerhouse in economic development and community leadership. Jason Ball is the president and CEO of the 5-star accredited Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, Visit Lincoln, and the Lincoln Partner for Economic Development. 3 vital organizations that together serve as the unified voice of business in Lincoln, Nebraska, focusing on economic growth, tourism, and advocacy. A certified economic developer, Jason brings a wealth of experience and leadership experience to the table. He's a graduate of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Institute for Organizational Management and the prestigious Economic Development Institute at the University of Oklahoma. Jason is also deeply involved at the national level. He is a member of the U.S. Chamber's Committee of 100 and serves on the board of the Midwest Institute for Organization Management. His leadership journey has taken him across the country, from serving as CEO of the Round Rock, Sioux Falls, and Hutchinson Chamber of Commerce to directing business development right here in Lincoln now. In 2015, he was recognized as one of Development Counselors International's 40 Under 40 Rising Stars in Economic Development. Originally from Sidney, Nebraska, Jason holds an undergraduate degree from Nebraska Wesleyan University and an MBA from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. With a background that spans chemistry, technology transfer, and strategic planning, Jason is a dynamic leader dedicated to building stronger communities through collaboration and innovation. Jason, I'm excited to have you with us today here on Chamber Chat Podcast. I'd love to give you an opportunity to say hello to all the Chamber champions who are out there listening. If you would, share something interesting about yourself so we can all get to know you a little better.
Yeah, well, hello, friends and colleagues. It's good to see you on this platform. Honored to get to be here to talk with you today. Brandon, look, when I'm not doing work, which for me is really most of the time, I'm kind of a boring guy. But I love to spend any free time I have either with my 2 kids who are going to be 10 and 13 this year, or spending time out running on the trail system we have here. It's a great community for running here.
Nice. It's always nice when you can kind of boomerang, come back to your community that you love and where
Yeah,
you've got roots, right?
that's right.
Well, tell us a little bit about the Lincoln Chamber, just to give us an idea, set the stage for our discussion today of size, staff, scope of work, budget, just to get us prepared.
Yeah, well, all in the enterprise here is 26 staff members at full tilt. And you mentioned before, but we're a combined chamber economic development and tourism visitor industry program here. And so the chamber's the main 501c6. That's where we do all the stuff that everybody in this industry knows about and understands. But we have a very strong policy and advocacy program. It's really where I try to make sure that we do not miss on that side. And then we are well recognized here in this area of the state for some of the highest quality events, and can get into those deeper in the community. We are very fortunate. We've got a contract with Lancaster County to fund and house the program for Visit Lincoln, which is our tourism industry group. We have a deep set of experts there that markets this community to try to bring sports tourism. It's actually a really big part of what we do. We are working on getting a much needed updated convention center built here in Lincoln, and then filling our arena and other facilities with any number of entertainment type of events. And a big part of that program has really been spent on trying to organize how we can invest in high-end assets more as a community. Lincoln's had to be, I think, more intentional about that than some other cities in the U.S. And then we house an economic development program, the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development. It's a public-private partnership model with the City of Lincoln, who is our largest single funder, and then the private sector matches and actually exceeds that match for housing our economic development programs. That's new business recruitment, workforce development, local existing business assistance for growth, and then we have a very robust um, entrepreneurship and startup ecosystem building program here. All in, 26 people that come to work every day. We love the work we do. We run a very flat shop intentionally. Our culture is one where everybody's expected to pitch in and help everybody else succeed, and we just are passionate about that work. It's a fun job.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't something you enjoyed. So appreciate that background on the chamber itself, the organization, and what all you guys are involved with. Definitely sets the stage for our discussion today as we were going back and forth on different topics that we could cover, and there's a few good ones.
Yeah.
But Jason mentioned to me that you guys have a podcast, the Lincoln Chamber Business Link. So when I heard that, like, well, we got to dive into that. I love hearing about chambers podcasting and the approach that you take on it. So we'll dive into that topic and the depths of that as soon as we get back from this quick break.
Hi, I'm Joe.
And I'm Rose.
And we're the founders of At My Community, a mobile app that can be customized to meet the unique needs of your Chamber of Commerce.
When we started At My Community, we envisioned a tool that would help communities thrive by simplifying communication and enhancing engagement. Chambers of Commerce face unique challenges, and we're here to help you tackle them.
At My Community helps the Evergreen Area Chamber of Commerce to create an app that keeps tourists informed even when their office is closed. They provide 24/7 access to local business information, which helps support the local economy and community engagement.
In Rocky Mountain House, we helped Rocky Chamber create an app with dynamic itineraries and digital resources for tourists, increasing local business engagement. The app has become an essential tool for the community, promoting events and boosting visibility for local merchants.
Today, we empower more than 200 chambers of commerce, campgrounds, and RV resorts to streamline communication, informing members about events, sharing business updates, and providing a digital hub for the community, all in one convenient app.
When you partner with At My Community, our team works closely with you to create an app that meets your chamber's unique needs. As your community grows, our app evolves with you. We are here to ensure you engage effectively with your members and streamline your operations.
Schedule a demo today at atmycommunity.com.
We can't wait to meet you.
Are you ready to take your organization's funding to the next level? Hi, I'm Clint Neesmith, CEO of Resource Development Group. As a Chamber of Commerce or economic development organization leader, I know you understand the value of working with experts who understand your world. And that's exactly what RDG does best. For over 30 years, RDG has specialized in fundraising for EDOs and chambers. We bring cutting-edge strategies tailored to your organization, whether you're just starting out or gearing up for yet another new funding cycle. Importantly, our firm executives are hands-on from start to finish, from the feasibility study to the successful conclusion of your fundraising campaign. And our team brings deep industry roots and national expertise to every engagement. No matter the size of your community, RDG delivers data-driven, innovative revenue solutions, reinforcing ROI to investors and making sure your vision becomes reality. At RDG, we proudly build organizations that build communities. Visit us today at rdgfundraising.com and let us partner with you, building a stronger future for your organization and the community you are working to grow and develop.
All right, Jason, we're back. As I mentioned before the break, we're going to dive into the podcast that you guys have there at the Lincoln Chamber Business Link, and Link, LNK, which I think probably has some, is there other meaning to LNK?
LNK is the abbreviation for the Lincoln Airport, LNK. Yeah.
That's what I was guessing. Yeah.
We've adopted it for a lot of other purposes.
I didn't have a chance to verify that, so I wanted to make sure you could say it instead of me. But tell us about the podcast. How did the idea of it come about? What's the format like? And we'll get into some of the stories you've been able to extract as you guys have done this podcast.
Yeah, and before we get into that, I'll just share, if people want to go check it out, you can find it at lcoc.com on our newsroom tab, pull down from the top. So lcoc.com, on the newsroom tab, you can find Business Link Video Podcast. And this is something I have to give credit to our Vice President for Marketing and Program Development, Brooke Zimmerman. 4 years ago, when I came back to this chamber, she and I had a discussion about, we did not have a podcast at that time. We were doing various things on social media, but we did not have a podcast. And what I envisioned was a tool to talk about things like economic growth projects or policies that we were working with and trying to lead on. I thought of it more as a traditional audio format that we could push something out to the members in the community once a week or something like that. And Brooke started running the traps on what that would look like, how we would fully develop the programs and get that pulled together. And she came back to me and said, Jason, I think we're missing the boat on this. I think we need to move away from the audio and longer version type of tools for that. Let's focus on quick hit 10, 15-minute things. Let's do it more of an interview way rather than, Jason or another staff member just talking about things that are going on. And let's do it on video and let's use it as a tool for businesses storytelling. And I give Brooke all the credit. I fought her on it. I was really worried about the technology, which was new to us. I was worried about how the heck are we going to fund putting a podcast studio together in the office? And then we just started chipping away at it. It was a lot cheaper, I'm happy to say, than I anticipated. It really did not require a whole lot of upfront investment from us.
Yeah.
And we found a sponsor, AOI, which is one of our office design and furniture businesses here in town. It's AOI Podcast Studio. So they sponsored it and donated some furniture to go in. So we painted
Perfect.
a wall and stuff up in the back, and we were off and running. The first few episodes were really choppy, but then we found an outside provider. At one point, we were thinking about staffing it up with someone who knew that space. And instead we found, for a lower cost, a really great outside provider that comes in and does the sound and video for it. So we just have to stack it up with the content and get people talking on it. And that's really the fun part for us.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that Brooke had the vision.
Me too.
As I see chambers podcasting, you see several chambers, and there's not, I'll say there's not a wrong way to podcast necessarily. It all depends on what your goals and objectives are. But going with like what your idea was, talking about the advocacy and things that you're doing, like who's your target audience? Who are you trying to reach, right? And that impact might be less just because a lot of people don't want to tune into it. They want to see it work, but they don't want to know the nitty gritty, right?
Yep.
Where the stories of business success, I mean, those are some of the top podcasts, aside from like true crime, are those of, business entrepreneurial success stories and being able to learn what these people did to make this work, where the vision came from to make this happen. And people love hearing that. And then hopefully there's some kind of tie-in to how the chamber might be helpful in their business being successful. But whenever a project can come in under budget, that's great. So you mentioned the studio. So you guys are doing this like a in-person, you've got the guests there recording it. I assume you put it out audio as well in addition to video. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's on Apple and Spotify and wherever people get podcasts, so people can subscribe to it. But that's really not where we're pushing on it. It is more often than not used as a tool to provide additional content to put on social media.
Social media, yeah.
That's where people are interacting with it. That's where the views are happening. People love to forward those to friends and each other. Couple other localized places here, like Podcast House Media, which is a local radio station that we do a lot of work with, that also puts it on that website so people can find it that way. But it's another way to really push out the message of the breadth and depth of work that we're doing and partners that we have. The best part about it is, Brandon, is it's not just me. We started out with myself and another one or two staff members that were doing some things sort of regularly, but then we had some of our other team members really express a desire to talk about the people and programs that they're working with on these. And so we've used it to talk about our young professionals group. It's a more recent one that we started. Lincoln Visits has always been one of the founding parts of this podcast, where we talk about what's going on in visitor industry development here in town. We've done workforce series, startup series we do every year with the Launch L&K grant award winners, 6 of them every year. And so they're talking about their entrepreneurial story. And then I think the one that I'm most excited about, because it's got the most upside for us in terms of growth, is we launched last year a program called Latino Connect. It's chamber stuff, but it's delivered in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. We hired someone who's bilingual to do that. And she's begun doing some of those podcasts for Latino Connect in Spanish for a
Very cool.
speaking market. So it's turned into something I think even bigger than maybe Brooke envisioned when she said, let's move in this direction. And we're so proud and honored that we were awarded the, for cities our size, Best Communication Award from ACCE last year for it. And then we also won Best in Show for ACCE for the communications category, I believe. And so it's something that's worked really, really well for us. Just encourage people, if you're not doing any podcasting, and it's like you said, there's no right way to do it. We don't have it figured out. We're still guessing a lot of the time, but jump into that space, because I'm a big believer that businesses and communities really need to know what chambers are doing. And sometimes that messaging is the hardest part.
Yeah. And there's not a wrong way, and you can always iterate. So, I mean,
Yeah.
when I started Chamber Chat, it was strictly audio. And in the last few months, I've added the video portion. And with that, it allows for short form content for social media. And it's all about getting more people exposed to what it is that you're talking about, and bringing them in and letting them hear of these stories. And that's the idea, is these stories hopefully are lifting other people, seeing how things are done. And that's what I wanted to touch on next, is some of these stories that you guys have been able to highlight. You talked about some of these different series that you've done. But and I know, I mean, having a podcast, it's like you can't have a favorite episode. It's like having a favorite kid. You know, you can't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
But what are some things that maybe have stood out to you as far as the storytelling aspect goes, that you think, you know, if we didn't have the podcast as a platform, this story would not have gotten out there. People in the community would not have known about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. You know, the angle that I take with all the ones that I've done, are really pushing our business guest to talk about their why or their motivations or how they got started in business. Those are some of my favorite stories that I come across in this work. It's real easy to get excited about the new building or the policy program, but like I think of what we're learning with Ava Thomas and our local newspaper and the media company that she runs for the Lincoln Journal Star, talking about the evolution of the news industry. That's an industry that's undergone a lot of change, and people in the community, interestingly enough, I think don't know that there's a much larger news and media organization behind it that does a lot more than news reporting. It's full media and PR type of activities. I think of our Launch L&K companies. We had a local upholstery business that was going through a rapid growth process. And they were in a moment in their business where they had just bought out a previous owner and really had tried to change what they were doing, came in and were able to talk about really what motivated them to take that leap and how scary it was, but at the same time, how they found success in that. And the last time I talked to them, they had a book of business a year out. And so I think that's pretty successful. Trying to think of another good. So like we did an episode with what's called the Echo Collective. Echo Collective is a coaching, mentoring, and business support program, started out of one of our local incubators and really by one woman, Kelly Ross. And it predominantly works with women and immigrant women in Lincoln and helping them start businesses. Those businesses have grown into chamber members, right? They're people we work with a lot. And it's such an inspirational story to hear Kelly talk about why that space she felt was so important and how she I think found some real ways to serve that community better. I could go on and on, Brandon. This is one part of what we do is, celebrating the successes of other people and making sure that our goal, our other goal with everything we do here, Brandon, is try to surprise people.
Okay.
Think of Nebraska as cornfields and football in the 90s and volleyball and maybe even basketball now. Those associations are great. We're proud of those things here in Nebraska, but there's a whole business community and startup and manufacturing and banking and finance ecosystem here that I think most people are blissfully unaware of until they've had the opportunity to experience it. So we really try to focus in on those angles that will surprise people.
Yeah, I love that. Surprise and delight.
Yeah.
So you'd mentioned with some of these stories that you shared and highlighted that like the upholstery business, their book of business being a year out. So in terms of measuring success of a podcast, like a lot of people are like, well, how many downloads do you get? And I don't know that downloads matter so much as when you see that upholstery business have, that uptick in business or being able to get their story out there and surprises people in the community that they had no idea that this business was even here. Or I can see even as you do the highlights on tourism stuff, even giving a boost from locals who are checking out these tourist things that they didn't know existed and they're right in their backyard. So when you think of terms of measuring success from project like this, what things are you looking for to see, yeah, this has been successful and worth continuing and worth doing?
Well, I think one marker of that success is we get contacted now by new business leaders to the community or businesses that are celebrating, some kind of a milestone or a business that's really impacted by a policy. We're having a lot of that inbound to us now. And so people are at least perceiving this platform as a good way to get their story and messaging out and get in front of a larger audience in Lincoln. I think that's been a great indication of success. You're exactly right. The metrics do matter. We do track those, but this is never intended, and we're never going to try to position it as something that, folks 7 states over are going to be listening to. This is very much local content for local
Yeah.
audience. And but for a few exceptions, like when we're talking about specific tourism assets or Lincoln visitation programs that are beneficial outside of that regional context. Mostly what we're using this for is to make people aware of more deeply what's going on in their community. We have a great business community, but I think everybody in this industry, to one extent or another, sort of struggles with our businesses are engaged, but they're so deep in their areas of expertise and spheres of influence. It's sometimes a little bit hard for them to break out of that and pay the kind of attention to a more broad set of topics that are going on in the community. It's not that they don't care; it's just that they're running large enterprises themselves. And
Yeah.
so this has really, I think, been proven, and it's based on some of the feedback. I love the folks that tell me, "Oh yeah, I'm a subscriber to this," which has never been a goal of ours. It's oh yeah, I get these, and I listen to them whenever they come up in my queue while I'm working out on the treadmill in the morning.
Yeah.
It's been real fun to have those pop up, and I really appreciate those people signing up for it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you mentioned some of these different series that you guys have done, different focuses. You've got businesses that are now reaching out to you. Is there a methodology of because that has been some pushback that I've had from some chambers about doing a podcast is oh, we can't favorite, XYZ business over this business or whatever. But if there's a method to it, at least you can go back to that as saying this is why. Maybe it's different tier memberships or different industry segments or for some it may be a revenue generator to highlight your business on the podcast. So what's the methodology that you guys use as far as highlighting different businesses and what it is that you're covering on the podcast?
So first of all, I'd say we really try to diversify the programming. We don't want to lump it all into public policy or all into CEOs or all into large business. So we try to make sure we're hitting a broad swath. I'm happy to say we really haven't run into big challenges with, oh, you're choosing one business over another to highlight. It's not a sale thing. We really don't, and we discourage it actively. We don't want people coming in here saying, Jason's redheaded retail store has 50% off this week. Like we really stay away from that. We're deeply interested in, why did Jason start the redheaded retail store? And so that's worked really well. It's kept us out of hot water. It's kept us from, any sort of inkling of, talking about competition in a way. And I think because of that, it's allowed us to open wide the doors for businesses that are interested. I mentioned at the beginning, we thought, producing one or two of these a month was a good goal. And I think in our first year of full operations with this, we produced more than 30 episodes, which is more than I anticipated. Last year, I'm sure we were in excess of 50 episodes. And so, we're just trying to make it available to everyone. There's not a lot of picking and choosing that happens. It doesn't cost anything for our interviewees to come on.
Yeah.
And so we've really used it as a tool for celebration. And it's hard for people to get into trouble for continuing to celebrate good things, right?
That's right. That's right. So you had mentioned with the studio, you guys did get a partner with, is it AOI? Is that the
AOI Podcast Studio is what it is.
Yeah. So you got a local company to help, furnish and set up the studio and kind of be that. It sounds like maybe the sponsor of the podcast. Is that how that
Yeah.
works? Or do you have other sponsors, or how
Yep.
does?
They're our studio sponsor, and that's gosh, unless I'm mistaken, I think that is the only one we've ever had.
Okay.
And AOI has been just a great partner on it. And quite frankly, compared to the overall size of any business's marketing budget, it's still a really nice deal for them too.
Yeah.
So again, I want to encourage other folks in our industry. If this is something that maybe you've been thinking about that you haven't quite pulled the trigger on, I or my staff love to talk to you and just tell you how we found our way to figuring this out. I was really concerned about it.
Yeah.
But if our team can figure it out, I know everybody's team really can. And especially doing the work we do, chamber folks usually don't struggle to get excited about helping businesses celebrate progress in that community.
Right. And there's so many different ways to be able to produce a podcast now. And even as we're recording this, we're on a platform called Riverside, which is what I use to produce a podcast. And it's not what I used when I first started. And I had bought a fancy microphone and all that. And if you're watching the video version of this, you can see the microphone in the background. I don't even use it anymore because the software makes the audio so great. I don't need the fancy microphone. And, the software is like, I don't know, like $20 a month or something. Like it's very inexpensive. But it's easy to plan a podcast and come in under budget and make it be profitable, make it be something that celebrates, the members in your community and highlights your community. But it sounds like you guys are doing things right. Not that there's a wrong way again, but you guys are doing a lot of right things. I wanted to put it out there for anyone listening who's wanting to take their chamber, their organization up to the next level. What kind of tip or action item might you share with them in trying to accomplish that goal?
Boy, I continue to be such a engaged supporter of what the U.S. Chamber is doing. And I remember working with other chambers or other colleagues in this industry who maybe haven't plugged into as much of what they're doing there. I really encourage people, check it out. That membership, that partnership for us, and especially in a state like Nebraska, because I've been in Texas that has a huge federal delegation. Texas as a state, when it rallies around something, is pretty indomitable when they really want to get stuff done. Here in Texas, our federal delegation is 5. Right? We're definitely on the smaller end of the spectrum. So having a partner like the U.S. Chamber for us has been invaluable when it comes to having a real effective voice and really getting some big things done in Washington, D.C. And so if I just suggest, and I know this isn't revelatory, a lot of chambers are doing a lot of great stuff with them, but if you're newer to this industry, definitely jump in on the Chamber Institute for Organization Management. That is the reason why I'm able to do the work I love every day. And if you've been around that for a while, but maybe your chamber hasn't been as plugged into the U.S. chamber, check that out. They've got some great options and great package sizes for chambers of every size to benefit from. It's worth every single penny, in my opinion.
Yeah. Love that. Just when I started this podcast, it was really to serve the underserved chambers who maybe they're part-time or one staff and their board didn't, have the budget for them to go to even their state conferences and be involved
Yeah.
that way. And over, I guess, about 6 years now, 7 years of doing the podcast, um, having the plug like that with it being involved with the U.S. Chamber and ACCE, and these things are so important that now even Chamber Chat has grown beyond just those underserved chambers to being able to serve a lot more. So great tip, great advice, Jason. I'd like to get your perspective as we look to the future of chambers of commerce. How do you see the future of chambers and their purpose going forward?
Yeah, I think the chambers of commerce actually are in an environment where we have more opportunity than maybe we have ever had in the past,
I love that.
mostly because of the political fragmentation that's happened. And I want to be as polite as I can to our elected officials. They're doing hard jobs. They're getting a ton of criticism for it, and especially at the local level, they're often not getting paid enough, and everybody's angry at them all the time. Like it's rough. But at the same time, our politics have evolved over the past 20 years in ways that I think should be concerning to everybody. But aside from that, the business community still has a great brand, is still seen as a important partner to get big community things done or fund big community projects and programs, or back on the policy side, get real legislation passed that's going to be durable and built on coalitions rather than getting just 50% plus one type of vote scenarios, right? And so chambers really have that role to play. And I think communities, I think people, I think businesses are hungrier for that than they have ever been. And so as challenging as things can be on membership or funding programs, or goodness knows, going out and making those visits to businesses right now with all the uncertainty in the market can be a really uncomfortable experience. But do that and find those ways to provide real value, because people are hungry for what chambers are. Coalition builders are too few and far between now in our politics. And I think every chamber, this one definitely really tries to step into that space as much as possible. And we've seen a great response.
Yeah. I think that's a great perspective and outlook. And, we all want to roll up our sleeves and get to work, right? Well, Jason, this has been great. It's been a lot of fun having you on the podcast to talk about podcasting and how you guys are doing it there in Lincoln. For anyone who may want to reach out and connect with you and learn more about the approach you guys are taking, or any of the other things you've touched on today, where would you point them and what would be the best way to connect?
Easiest way to find me is all my contact information is on our staff page at lcoc.com. I am the easiest person to find in town. So check it out at lcoc.com on the staff page.
That's perfect. We'll get that linked in our show notes and make it easy. Jason, this has been great. I appreciate you spending the time with us today on Chamber Chat Podcast, and keep making waves in the Lincoln area with your own podcast there as well. I love it. And I'd love to see more chambers get on board with podcasting. So thanks a lot.
Brandon, thank you so much.
If you are a chamber professional, be sure to subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast on your favorite podcast app, or now on YouTube, so you never miss a new episode. New episodes are released each week and delivered right to you. If you're finding value in the podcast, please take a moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. It really helps others discover the show. And most importantly, share Chamber Chat Podcast with your colleagues in the industry so we can continue to grow and strengthen the chamber community together.
This episode is brought to you by Riverside. If you've ever thought about starting a podcast for your chamber or your business, one of the biggest challenges is recording high-quality audio and video, especially when you and your guest aren't in the same room. Riverside is the platform I use to record every episode of the show. It gives you studio-quality audio and video right from your browser, automatically backs up your files, and even creates clips you can use on social media. It's designed to make podcasting simple and professional without the headaches. If you're ready to launch your podcast or upgrade your recordings, head over to chambertappodcast.com/riverside to get started today. Again, that's chambertappodcast.com/riverside, the same tool I trust to bring you these conversations every week.